Time for my ultimate list of air fryer recipes, 25 of them in total. I love using the air fryer. It's probably my favorite kitchen gadget. Let's get started. First up, we have bacon wrapped hot dogs. I love bacon and I love hot dogs. Begin with your hot dog franks, and I'm just using these Ballpark brand bun length franks. And then I have some Oscar Mayer bacon. Use whatever bacon you want, just don't use too thick of bacon because it needs to be thin enough to wrap around the hot dog frank. Okay? Super easy. Take some bacon. I'm telling you, this is my favorite way to eat hot dogs. And then I want to go to the end here and start by wrapping this. And we want to wrap it fairly tight. Okay, and you can kind of stretch the bacon a little bit. And then put the end inside down like that, all right? I'm gonna do that with the rest of these. All right, easy as that, ready to go in the air fryer. I'm gonna remove that air fryer basket. And I'm gonna put these in. Make sure to have that little seam, the end seams that are kind of tucked underneath at the ends. Put those on the bottom to start. And there we go. In the air fryer like that. Now we'll put the basket in here. Turn the air fryer on. Set the timer to 385 Fahrenheit, which is 195 Celsius. It's gonna take about 12 to 14 minutes total. I'm gonna start with 10 minutes. And then we're right around the 7-minute mark. I'm gonna pull them out and turn them over to the other side and cook them the rest of the way until the bacon is nice and done. And then they're ready to go. Easy as that. All right, it's been about 7 or 8 minutes. I'm gonna take a peek. Awesome, look at that. Not quite done yet. Needs about 3 or 4 more minutes. So I'm gonna take my tongs now and kind of roll it over to the other side here. And then back into the air fryer it goes. And we'll do it for another 4 to 5 minutes. All right, time is up. Take a look. Yes, looking amazing. Now just use some tongs and take them out. Take your bun, of course. Put that hot dog in there. And then you can serve the hot dog however you want. Super excited. Did you know you can bake a cake in the air fryer? Let me show you how. These crispy air fryer French fries are awesome and super easy to make. First, we need some potatoes. I'm using some russet potatoes. They make really good French fries. And I washed these. And now, to peel or not to peel, that is the question. Totally up to you. I don't normally peel them, but for this video, I'm gonna peel them. Just get your peeler, and just peel away. Once you have them peeled, you can use a knife to cut them up into the fry shapes, or I have this fry cutter here that I've had for many years that I like. Just put the potato in there. You got your fries, easy as that. And then place them in a bowl with water. And then I have some salt here, a couple teaspoons of salt. Put that in there and you can just mix it around a little bit with your hand. And then I'm gonna place this in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. Or if you have ice cubes, you can put the water, you just want the water to be cold. And then this like saltwater brine solution is gonna kind of pull out that starch from the potatoes. Once we take the potatoes out of the fridge, we want to drain all of the water. Next, it's really important, we want to dry our fries. We don't want to put them in when they're wet. And then I dry out this bowl as well because we're going to reuse that bowl. So just take your potatoes and put them on paper towel and dry them really well. And once these are dry, let's go ahead and put them back in our bowl. I just rinsed out the bowl and then dried it. And then let's take 2 tablespoons, no more than 2 tablespoons of oil, and pour that on your fries. Guess they're not fries yet, but potatoes. And just go in there with your hands and make sure they get all coated with oil. The little coating of oil is going to give it some flavor and help it get nice and crisp, but it's not going to be submerged in oil, so it'll make them a little more healthy. And now I'm going to turn my temp to about 350. Even though it says to do 400, I like to do 350 for like 10-15 minutes first, and then 400 for the rest of the way. So what we'll do is we'll set it to about 350, and then we're going to turn it on about 15 minutes and let it heat up for a few minutes. And after we let it heat up, let's slide it out. It'll turn off, and then take our potato fries, put them in there, put it back in, slide it right in. Again. It'll turn back on, and we're gonna do this for about 10-15 minutes. And once the timer turns off, we'll go ahead and open it up. We'll give it a shake. And then we're gonna put it back in, turn the temp to 400, and then turn the timer to about 15 minutes. And there we go. And once they are done to your liking, you can make them darker or lighter. Just depends on how long you want to cook them for. Pour them onto a plate with a paper towel. And then let your paper towel soak up any of the extra oil. Then serve. Enjoy. Next up, I'm going to show you how to cook bacon in the air fryer. All right, so all you need is bacon and your air fryer, of course. And so here we go. And so what you're going to do is you're going to set the temp first. And I'm going to set it here to about 375 Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius, something like that. And then on the timer, on this particular air fryer, once you turn the timer on, it's going to start the air fryer. So I'm not going to do that yet. And now what I'll do is I will remove the basket from the air fryer and it'll just slide out like this. And now what you can do is we can line the bottom of this with some aluminum foil. The aluminum foil is optional. I'm just going to put it in here like this. And we'll just put this back in like so. And then we'll take the bacon. And I'm just using this thick cut Oscar Mayer brand bacon. The length of time in the air fryer will depend on the bacon, like how thin it is, how thick it's cut. But generally, the time that we're going to use is going to be the same. So somewhere between 8 to 11 minutes at 375 is going to be perfect. So I'm just going to take some of these slices of bacon. I feel like eating 3 slices. So I'm just going to do 3 slices here. And just lay them in there. Since these are a little bit long, I'm going to kind of do them crosswise like this. Like so. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and put it right in here. Just like that. And if you need to, you can cut that bacon into smaller pieces, like cut them in half if you want. Now I'm just going to set the timer for, I'm going to go for about 9 minutes here. And you just let it go. The fan will turn on. The heating element up here at the top is going to come on. And it's going to cook that bacon. And once the timer goes off, we'll just slide it out and take a peek. And look at that. Amazing, nice, golden brown looking bacon. Awesome. And then what we can do is we can take the bacon, and I'm going to just take it out with some tongs. And you can bake it longer if you want to get it more crispy, depending on how you like it. Sometimes I like it super crispy. Sometimes I don't like it as crispy. And then we'll just take the bacon right here and just fold this over, and we'll just pat that dry. Time for me to dive into this. Oh yeah. Yeah. These air fryer chicken wings are so good. Chicken is one of my favorite things to cook in the air fryer. And now I'm going to show you how to do 3 different flavors of chicken wings. Really easy to do. We're going to have the base flavor for like a normal style chicken wing, and then we'll do a barbecue, and we'll do a honey mustard. Really awesome. And so we're going to start with some chicken wings, and these have been thawed out, and I dried them, and I have them in this bowl. And I'm going to take a little bowl here, and I'm going to add in the seasonings. Now these seasonings don't have to be exact. Feel free to replace some of the seasonings with something else if you want, or reduce the amount or up the amount if you like. I'm going to start with a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, ground black pepper, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. And again, you can adjust these amounts of seasonings. I would say try it first like this and then adjust the next time you make it. And I want to point out also is that this base seasoning is going to cover all of the chicken wings, regardless if I'm going to be adding the barbecue sauce or make the little honey mustard mix. And now for the barbecue sauce, I just have my favorite Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce here, and this is like honey barbecue. And then for the honey mustard, really simple, 2-ingredient honey mustard. I have about a couple tablespoons of mustard here, just normal yellow mustard. I have some honey, and I'm just going to put in a couple tablespoons, tablespoon and a half. Not quite the same amount of the mustard, so probably about a tablespoon, tablespoon and a half. And you can adjust as you want. And then I'll just take a spoon, and we'll just mix this together really well. Give it a taste. Oh yeah, that's awesome. And now I'm going to take my seasonings, and I'm just going to sprinkle it on this top layer. Now you can just put all the seasonings in like a bag and shake it, but I found if it's just seasoning and the chicken, then it gets kind of like most of it gets put onto one of them and it doesn't spread out evenly. And so I want to just take these and turn them around
And you could even take them out if you want after you season one side, just to get it as even as possible. But I will leave some in the bowl, some here, and that way I can get kind of evenly spread out seasonings. Do this part however you want. Turn them over just to get any other sides that we need to. And you could even just put them in there and then just kind of toss them a little bit. But again, I like to be a little bit more precise with it, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And so these are ready to go. And now it's time to do the air fryer. Even with the sauces, I'm going to cook these in the air fryer for about 7 minutes first, and then apply the sauce, and then cook it for the rest of the 7 to 8 minutes. It takes about 15 to 18 minutes in the air fryer at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius. And then I'm just gonna pull it out, slide it out of here. And then you're gonna wanna spray the inside. A lot of the times it has a non-stick covering on the inside, but I just spray it just so the chicken wings don't stick to it. And if you don't have cooking spray, you can just dab some oil on like a paper towel and kind of move it around if you like. So here we go. And now I'm going to take the wings. I'm going to use the same tongs that I used before to put the raw chicken wings in here. I want to use 2 separate tongs. The raw tongs, and then I'm going to use different tongs to move them once they're cooked. And I usually do just 1 layer because that's how much I'm normally going to eat. But you could do more, and then you're just going to want to turn them more so everything gets evenly cooked. Once you have them in the basket, we'll just put the basket back in. And then we will set the temperature to 375. And then once you do the time, it's going to start the air fryer. And I'm going to set it for right about 7 to 8 minutes. And now we're just going to let the air fryer do its thing and cook those chicken wings for about 7 to 8 minutes. And then we'll come back and we'll flip them and we'll baste them with the barbecue sauce and the honey mustard glaze, and then we will cook them the rest of the way. All right, and then once the air fryer shuts off, we'll take it out, turn it like this so you can see it better. Looks really good. And now what we need to do is we need to put our flavorings on, and I just have 2 different basting brushes here. And so I'm going to do some honey golden or honey mustard on this side, and then I'm going to flip those over and then baste that other side. And then I'll do the barbecue sauce. Okay, got some barbecue sauce on there. And then in we go for about 7 more minutes. And let it do its thing. All right, the timer went off. Oh yeah, those look awesome. And now what you can do if you have a meat thermometer, we can check these, double check these just to make sure that we have at least 165 in the meat portion, the meaty portion. Yep. Perfect. But like I said, it's going to take, in most air fryers at 375, it'll be somewhere between 15 to 18 minutes and you'll be just fine, even if you don't have a meat thermometer. All right, now these are ready to go. And I'm just going to take them out. Looks amazing, look at that. And just put them here on this plate. Looks so good. And then what you can do, if you like, is you can come in here and baste a little bit more sauce on. A little bit more barbecue sauce, just a tad bit more on these wings. Time for me to dive into these. Oh yeah, I'm gonna grab this one right here, the honey mustard one. Yeah. So good.
Time for some air fryer mozzarella sticks. I love mozzarella sticks.
All right, so start with the cheese. I have just mozzarella string cheese here. And then I'm just gonna cut these in half. For now, really simple step. Just cut the cheese in half, and you can make them long if you want, but I like to make them smaller, just a personal preference. I also have this Baby Bell brand of cheese. It's like a snack size cheese. And so when you open it up, you have this little wax around it, and you can just take this off like this. And you can just take the cheese out, and it's a nice soft cheese. And if there's a different type of cheese that you want to use, you can feel free to use that as well. All right, once I have the cheese cut and unwrapped, I have a sheet pan here with parchment paper. I'm just going to put the cheese on there. So there we go. This goes in the freezer for about 30 to 45 minutes. All right, once the cheese has had time to freeze, I took it out of the freezer. I'm going to set this aside for now. And then I have some eggs here. You may only need one egg. I'm just going to do a couple eggs. And then with a fork, give that a good whisk with the fork. And now what we do is we are going to take our flour. This is about a half of a cup, 3/4 cup of flour. It doesn't have to be exact. And I'm going to add about a half teaspoon of garlic powder, about a half teaspoon of salt, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of black ground pepper. And then I'm going to just whisk this together. Now I have panko breadcrumbs here. Very popular choice. You could also use like the Italian style breadcrumbs. And then the other thing that you can do, which is really cool, is I took Doritos and I smashed them up in a bag, in a sandwich bag. And so you can coat them with that as well. Adds a unique flavor to it. Really awesome. Okay, so what we do is we have the flour here. We'll take a cheese stick and we'll put it in the flour. And then we'll go right into the egg mixture. And then into the breadcrumbs. Back into the egg mixture. You want a double coating. It just helps create the best possible coating on the outside of the cheese stick. And then I'm going to put this back on my sheet pan because we need to freeze it before we put it in the air fryer. All right, now for one of these little Baby Bell ones, I'm going to take this and put it in the flour, get it coated in the flour, into the egg, and then into these awesome crumbs from the chips. And then back into the egg. And one more time into the crumbs. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these. And once all the cheese sticks are dipped, place them back in the freezer for another 30 to 45 minutes. All right, I took these out of the freezer. So I have my air fryer here, and I sprayed the inside with cooking spray. Now you can also bake these in the oven if you want at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 to 10 minutes until nice and golden brown. And then at about the 5-minute mark, you'll turn them over so they evenly bake. You could also deep fry them in oil at about 350 degrees Fahrenheit oil, and for about 3 to 4 minutes, something like that, until they get nice and golden brown. So in the air fryer, I'm going to take them and I'm going to just place them in here. Don't want to overcrowd them. I'm just going to do that many for now. And so place them in the air fryer, and then replace the basket and set the temp to right around 375 Fahrenheit. And then we are going to cook these for about 5 minutes, and then we will turn them over, and then for another 2 minutes to 3 minutes. So 7 to 8 minutes total. Once the air fryer turns off, take a look, see how nice those look. Nice and golden brown. And I'm just going to give these a little turn here. But these are just about done. I just want to do them a little bit longer. They're starting to get nice and golden brown, which is what we want. A little bit of cheese is starting to come out. Perfect. Put them back in just for about a minute, minute and a half. All right, time to take them out. Nice, yes, look at those. Awesome. And then you can just take them out right away. I'm gonna put them on a plate. And once they are done, serve them warm. I have a bowl of marinara sauce here. You can also do ranch dressing. We love ranch here in the United States. And then I'm gonna just take one and then open it up and show you. Look at that. Awesome. Time for me to dive into another one of these. Oh yeah. I'm gonna do one of these Doritos ones. Yeah. Pull it apart and show you. Look at that. Whoa. Look at that. Woo. Hot. Yeah.
In this next video, I'm going to show you how to do hard-boiled eggs in the air fryer.
And I'm going to do 6 eggs, but you could do up to 12 eggs at a time. And I also have a bowl of water, and we'll be putting ice in here to cool down the eggs once they're done cooking. And so it's really easy. We don't have to mess with boiling water or anything like that. I'm going to just take out my basket here, and then we'll take the eggs and just put them right in there in the basket. And then I'm going to just slide it in. And I'm going to set the heat to right around 275 Fahrenheit, 280, somewhere around there. And then we are going to cook these for 14 to 18 minutes. Just depends on how you like your yolk cook it. I liked it more on the done side personally. That's just a personal preference. So you'll just have to experiment. Maybe just do 1 egg at a time until you get the time down to how you like your eggs. And I'm just going to turn on the time. And that turns on the air fryer, and then you just let it cook. Simple as that. Super easy. We'll come back when they're done. And when the timer goes off on the air fryer, you can remove the basket. And there are our eggs. And depending on how clean your basket is, I didn't clean it out very well from before when I had the little oil. There might be a little bit of oil specks on there, but that's totally fine. That doesn't affect the egg at all on the inside. And I'm going to put these in this water. And then I'm just going to add some ice cubes to this water. I want to get it really cold, and it's going to stop that cooking process, and as well as make it easier to peel. And if you look at one of these eggs, that stuff that was on the outside is pretty much already gone off of it. So we'll just let these sit in here for about a minute or so. And once the eggs have chilled, you can crack it open and we can peel it. And the peel should come right off like that. Nice and easy. And it shouldn't be stuck to the egg very much at all. Look at that, a real big piece came right off. Look at that, awesome. And you might, with the air fryer method, sometimes you'll get some cooked marks like this. That's just a superficial cook mark, and it will not affect the taste or the egg in any way. And there we go. That is it. Awesome. And if we cut this open, show you the yolk, perfectly cooked yolk. Awesome. Time for me to dive into this. Oh yeah.
Vegetables are one of my favorite things to cook in the air fryer. First up, we have green beans. And so what we want to do is you want to start by washing and drying your green beans. And then typically what I'll do is I will just cut off these little woody ends here, the little stem ends. Those aren't very appetizing. You don't have to cut them off, like they are edible. But I normally will just grab a few of these at a time and just cut those ends off. Like so. And then I don't always cut off the other end. Some people don't like the little sharp tip end on the other side, but I don't mind them, so I don't cut those off. But you could cut off this other end too if you want. And so once you have those all trimmed, I'm just going to put these in this little container here, like so. And then I'm going to take some cooking spray. You could use avocado oil spray, olive oil spray, and we'll just give it a good little spray here. And if you don't have an aerosol spray like this, don't worry about it. You can just drizzle on a little tiny bit of oil, like a teaspoon or two of oil. And once we get that on there, I'm going to take some salt, just give a couple shakes of salt, a couple shakes of pepper, and then some garlic powder. Every one of those seasonings are optional. And then with clean hands, I'm just going to come in here and give that a good turn, just so it gets nice and coated a little bit. And now these are ready for the air fryer. Super quick and easy to get these ready to go. Okay, I'm going to open up the air fryer. You just slide it right out, depending on the kind that you have. And now I'm going to just plop these in there. And I'll just spread them out a little bit so they're more even. And then I'm going to set the heat temp to about 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Pop these back in. And I'm going to turn it on for 5 minutes. And let it do its thing. Alright, and once the timer goes off, I'm going to just pull it out and give it a look. They're not completely done yet. And what we're going to do is we're going to kick it with some, we're going to hit it with some Parmesan cheese. And you could use freshly grated Parmesan cheese that you do yourself, or the powdery stuff. For this particular recipe works great. Just go ahead and just put it on there. And then we'll just go back in and then cook it for another 3 to 4 minutes. And when the timer goes off, we'll pull it out. And look at that. Awesome. So depending on your air fryer, these are going to take 7 to 10 minutes total. And then I will just take these out of there. Put them on this plate. Yeah. This is such an amazing, quick way to make a really nice side dish for steak or chicken or whatever you want to eat, or just as a little snack. It's just a really yummy way. One of my favorite ways to eat green beans. And there you have it. Really quick way to make green beans in the air fryer. Time for me to dive into one of these. Oh yeah. Grab this one right here. So good. Next, I'm going to show you how to cook amazing asparagus in the air fryer. So first you want to rinse and dry your asparagus. If you look at my asparagus here, this is the very thin grown asparagus. It'll range in thickness from this kind of like thin asparagus to fairly fat asparagus. So that will affect your cooking times. And now what you want to do is you're going to take it and just kind of get it so it's even, the ends. And then you want to cut about 2 to 3 inches off the bottom, because the bottom ends from about here on, they're just not very appetizing. So I'm just going to come over here, right about there.
Give it a nice cut. And then you can just put these in the compost or whatever you want to do with those. Just throw them away. And then you'll place them in another container. I already have some in here, so you'll place them in there. I'm going to save this bunch for later. And now I'm going to use some olive oil spray, or you can use like avocado oil spray. And let's just do a light coating on here. Just a light coating of olive oil. You don't have to use the can spray. You can just drizzle some on and then move it around. And then let's do our seasonings, and these seasonings are all optional. I'm going to do some salt, some pepper, some garlic powder, and then let's mix these up just to try to get them evenly coated with seasonings. There we go. Now these are ready for the air fryer. And then I'm going to slide my basket out. There we go. And then we will take the asparagus and plop it in there. I'm going to take the tongs and just kind of move them out so they're a little bit more flat in there. Doesn't matter too much. And now I'm going to come in here with some Parmesan cheese. Again, this is optional. And I'm just using the powdery kind, but you can also use freshly grated Parmesan cheese. I really love adding the Parmesan. And then into the air fryer it goes. And now we're going to set the air fryer to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 205 Celsius. And then I'm going to set the timer for about 7 minutes. And again, depending on how fat or thick the asparagus is, will depend. You might need to cook it a little bit longer. And we just let it do its thing. Once the timer goes off and the air fryer shuts off, take out the basket. And there you go, look at that. Awesome. And the asparagus will shrink a little bit. I'm gonna put this on a plate. And there we have it. Super easy to make asparagus done in the air fryer. Time for me to dive into this. So yeah, I'm gonna grab this one right here. Now I have kind of a gimmicky recipe. I saw this on TikTok. It's bacon and egg toast in the air fryer. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna begin by taking an egg and I'm gonna crack it and just get out the egg and put that in this little bowl. It just makes it easier to have more control. You don't have to put it in a bowl, but it just makes it a little easier. And then I have some bacon here, long strips of bacon. And I got some pieces of bread, my favorite white bread. And you can use homemade bread, whatever you want. And then you take your air fryer basket out. If it's this style of air fryer, some of them are more like little mini ovens and you just put them right in. That's fine. And what I'll do is I'm gonna take my slices of bread and just put them right in there. There's no need to spray the air fryer or anything like that. Put those right in there. And then we will take our nice strips of bacon here. I love bacon. And you want to make, with the bacon, you want to make kind of like a little nest for that egg. So the egg stays right in the middle. So just make it kind of like that. And then that will hold the egg. And then we'll take the egg and we will just pour it right there in the middle. You can do a little seasonings like salt and pepper. I usually don't do salt just because bacon is pretty salty, but I'll do a little bit of pepper. And then into the air fryer the basket goes. And then we set the temperature to 350 Fahrenheit, and then we just turn it on for 10 minutes, and that's it. And let it do its thing. And when the timer goes off, you can take it out. And look at that nice golden brown toast with a basket of bacon and egg in the middle. Now, depending on your bacon, if it's really thick, you're gonna wanna probably cook it, like you'll form it in like the basket and just put that by itself in the basket and cook it for a few minutes first. Just because if it's really thick, 10 minutes is not long enough to cook it all the way. And any longer than 10 minutes is a little bit too long to cook the egg, okay? Just keep that in mind. Just depends on the type of bacon that you're using. And that is just awesome. And now I'm going to just grab this. You can, usually it won't be too hot, but if it is, you can just use a spatula to get it out of there. I normally just grab it and put it on my plate like that. So awesome, I'm excited. And then feel free to eat these however you want. You can just pick them up and eat them, or you can use like a fork and knife and eat them that way. Totally up to you. Time for me to dive into this. So yeah, take a bite out of this one. So good. Now I want to cut into the yolk here just to show you kind of what the yolk looks like. I'm just going to cut kind of straight through, and there should be a little bit of a run to that yolk, okay? Awesome. Grilled cheese sandwiches are one of my favorite things to eat. Here's how you make one in the air fryer. And so I'm going to begin with bread and cheese and butter. You can use mayo instead of butter. I know a lot of people prefer mayo instead of butter. I prefer butter instead of mayo, just my personal preference. But I encourage you to try both ways and see what you like the best, okay? And so I'm using a thick brioche style bread, but you can use whatever bread that you want. Homemade bread, I have an amazing homemade white bread recipe here on my channel. You can check that out if you want up there in the eye, click that. Or you can use like a whole wheat bread, whatever you want to do. Love that. And then I have cheese here. I am using thinly sliced Tillamook cheese. I love the Tillamook brand cheese, super yummy cheddar cheese. But you can use whatever cheese that you want as well. I encourage you to experiment with a bunch of different cheeses and see what you like the best. You can do a combination of cheeses. Also, some people will use shredded cheese because it melts a little easier. Different cheeses melt differently as well. American cheese, I don't like American cheese. I think it's fake cheese, but that melts really well, so maybe you want to try that. Growing up, we used American cheese a lot, but I really love just a nice cheddar. Irish cheddar is really good. Gouda, there's a lot of different cheeses that you can use for your grilled cheese sandwich. And then again, I have butter, and you can use butter or mayo, or if you want to be a little bit more healthy, you can also just do a light spray of cooking oil like avocado oil, or you could use olive oil. All right, and so what we do is we want to just spread on that butter, mayo, whatever you want to use right here. And this is actually going to be the top and the bottom, so we'll spread that on to both sides. And if you want a classic way to make grilled cheese sandwiches, I have a video on that as well. Up there in the eye, you can find that. And then what we want to do is I'm going to move this over here, and we'll pull out the air fryer. And then I'm going to put my bread. Now you can do about two sandwiches at a time, depending on how large your air fryer is. I'm just going to do one sandwich and just put that right in there. And this is butter side down. And I'm just going to put my cheese in here. And I want to cover that whole slice of bread with this cheese. like that. And then I have an extra slice, so I'm just gonna put that right there. And then I'll take my other slice of bread and I do this butter side up, just like that. Super easy. And then I'm gonna put this in the air fryer. Now I'm gonna set it to, on my air fryer, 360 Fahrenheit. And then we want to cook each side for about 3 to 5 minutes. Check it after 3 minutes. It'll probably take more, closer to 4 to 5 minutes per side. All right, once the 4 minutes are up, let's give it a check. Nice. And then if the bread slides a little bit, you can kind of move it over so it's more even. Not quite ready on this side. Like it's almost done, like it's slightly starting to brown on the top. So I'm gonna go about another minute on that side. All right, and I'm gonna check it again. Yes. That is exactly how I like it to look. And then you can cook it a little bit longer if you want it darker, or a little bit less if you want it lighter, totally up to you. And now let's flip this sandwich over, come in here with a spatula. And we'll flip it over like that. And you'll notice that this side hasn't browned very much, the side that was on the bottom. And now we want to do it again. Now this side's not gonna need as much long, so I'm gonna do it for about 3 minutes. All right, I'll check it again. Yes, that is how I like it. Now, I'm gonna remove it and put it on this cutting board. And depending on how much cheese and how close to the edge you do, it might kind of leak out on the side. I really like that because that crusty cheese is really, really good. It's kind of like crispy and crunchy, really awesome. And then I'm going to just cut this in half diagonally, however you want to do it. And just look at the inside, look at that. Nice and melted cheese. So good. Time for me to dive into this. Oh yeah, super excited.
This air fryer smashed potatoes recipe has to be one of my favorite potato recipes.
So you're going to begin with these little petite potatoes, and these are the Yukon Gold petites, but you could also get the red potatoes or the purple potatoes, but you just want a small potato. These are like the size of a golf ball, right around the size of a golf ball, some a little bit larger, some a little bit smaller. And the particular brand that I buy, it's a Private Selection brand. They come already pre-rinsed, okay? But if you don't buy the pre-rinsed ones, you are gonna want to rinse these first, okay? And now what we're gonna do, very simple, is we want these to get pretty soft. A couple ways you can do it. You can do it in the microwave, just about 2 minutes, which is the fastest way, but it's probably the worst way out of the 3 ways because they just don't taste as good. I've made them in the microwave, they just don't taste as good. And the next way is the way I'm going to show you is by just boiling them. And we are going to boil these for 15 minutes or so, just so they are fork tender. You don't want to get them too mushy, and you don't want to have them get too hard because when you smash them, they'll break apart on you. And so there's kind of a sweet spot. So right around the 16 to 18 mark of boiling, we'll get these ready to go. And then you could also bake them in the oven for a little bit longer, like at 350, 375 Fahrenheit, and bake them for 30 to 40 minutes until they're fork tender as well. You can do it that way, okay? And then also I'm gonna add a little bit of salt to this water. Over to the stovetop we go. Here we are over at the stovetop, and I have the burner set to medium high, and we want to just bring this to a boil and then boil it for, like I said, 16 to 18 minutes until they are fork tender but not super soft. Alright, it's been about 16 minutes. I'm going to check these smaller ones. Just take a fork and poke it in there. And it goes in fairly easy. but still pretty firm. So not quite there. Almost. Pretty close. So I'm just going to go a couple more minutes for these small ones. Alright, so I'm going to take these two out. These two small, really small ones should work nicely. And I'll continue to boil those larger ones for another couple minutes. So we just take a potato smasher or the bottom of a glass and you gently press down on it. And you just smash it till it's about that thick. For some reason, it's like really satisfying smashing these potatoes down like this. And these ones are really large. Like the large ones are, see how it came apart like that? That's okay. It probably could have gone a little bit more, but you kind of just push it back together and it should be fine. Like this one is almost too big. It's kind of like at the cusp. Those smaller ones, these smaller ones right here are definitely the ideal size. These larger ones are just a little bit big, but they'll still work. Like I said, it's okay if some of it comes apart because those will fry up nicely in the air fryer. All right, and now what we're going to do is we'll take some cooking spray, like an avocado oil, a coconut oil, olive oil spray. I'm just going to spray the tops. Or you could baste the tops with some butter. Then I'm going to come in here with some salt, some garlic powder, some black pepper, and just a little bit of paprika as well. You don't, all these seasonings are optional. These are just really yummy seasonings. And I'm going to just push this aside and pull out the air fryer basket. And now we're going to just take a spatula and we're going to go underneath these and gently pick them up and put them right there. Like I said, if they fall apart, you can kind of just push them back together, but they'll still fry up just fine, air fry just fine. Don't want to overcrowd them too much. Just like so. And then we'll put the basket in and we will set the temperature to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 Celsius. And then we're going to cook these for 5 to 6 minutes on that side and then 5 to 6 minutes on the other side. All right, time is up. Pull it out. Look at that. They could probably go another minute or two. So I'm going to put these back in and go for another minute. That was about 5 minutes. So I'm going to go for another minute. All right, we'll give them a check. That is looking better. Nice. And then what we want to do is come in here. We want to flip these over to the other side. And again, if little pieces fall off, that's okay, because they will crisp up and they'll be really yummy just to munch on as well. And then what I do is I'll usually come in here and you could either baste it or just do a quick spray of oil on that side. And it is optional, you don't have to use the oil, but it gives it nice flavor and it also helps it to crisp up better. Again, some more seasoning, salt, garlic powder, pepper, and just a touch of paprika. Into the air fryer goes again, 5 to 6 minutes. All right, I'll check them out. Yes, those look amazing. Look at that. Also, I want to point out, if you don't have an air fryer, you can, after you smash them, after you boil them and then smash them, you can just put a little bit of oil in your skillet, and then you can cook them over there and brown them on the skillet if you want. Yeah, you can hear how nice and crispy these are. Look at nice. And these little pieces like this, those are so yummy as well. So that's why I don't mind at all if pieces fall off. And then to serve them, you can serve them with some ketchup, with some fry sauce. You can serve them with bacon and eggs for breakfast. Oh yeah, bacon and eggs. You can just eat them as is, as a snack. There's a lot of ways that you can serve these. Time for me to dive into this. Oh yeah. I'm gonna grab this little guy right here. Crispy, super crispy on the outside, nice and soft and done on the inside. So yummy.
I love Brussels sprouts, and one of my favorite ways to prepare them or cook them is in the air fryer.
So begin with your Brussels sprouts, and I just rinsed and dried these. And then what I want to do is any really large ones, like the large ones like these, I'm going to cut those in half. But before that, I want to cut all the little ends off. Just a little bit. You don't have to do that, but it's nice because those little, the very end is just a little bit unappetizing. So I'm going to take those and then put these in the bowl, and then any like flyaways like these, I'm just going to put those in there as well and cook those up as well. They make like little Brussels sprout chips as they cook in the air fryer. Pretty awesome. So again, just cut off these ends, and then any really large ones, just cut them in half. Or if they're really large, sometimes Brussels sprouts grow really large, then just cut them in quarters. And I have about a pound or 16 ounces of Brussels sprouts here. So it'll take just a few minutes to prep these Brussels sprouts, depending on how many you have. But really, start to finish, this recipe is really quick. Like, you can have these ready to go in less than 20 minutes. All right, there we go. And then you can just throw away or compost these scraps. And then I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil and just drizzle it on. This is probably just a couple of teaspoons of olive oil. It's not necessary. It just adds a little bit of flavor and helps them crisp up more. Also, it allows the seasonings to stick better to it. But again, you don't have to use oil at all, and you don't have to use olive oil. You could use a different kind of oil like avocado oil or coconut oil or something like that. And then I'm just going to put my lid on real quick. Just give these a shake, just to get them a little evenly coated. If you don't have a lid, you can just stir, okay? And now I'm going to take some garlic powder and just shake on some garlic powder. About a half teaspoon. Some ground black pepper. About a fourth of a teaspoon. And then some salt. I'll just shake on some salt. Not too much. You can always season it more when it's done. That's about a fourth teaspoon of salt. And again, put that lid on. Give it a shake. And if you don't have a bowl like this with a lid, you could also just do it in like a bag, plastic bag, Ziploc bag. Boom. And just like that, they are ready to be cooked. So I will open up my air fryer and pull out the basket. And this is just a Secura brand air fryer. I really like it. I'll put a link down below in the description if you want to pick up this exact same one. But pretty much any air fryer will work great. And then I'm going to just pour those in there. And then just spread them out so they're kind of in one layer. Just like that. And then we'll slide it in the air fryer. And I'm going to set the temp right around 350, 360 Fahrenheit or 176 Celsius. And then I'm going to set the time for 12 minutes. There we go. After about 6 minutes, we're gonna take out the basket and take a look. Looking good. Now I'm just gonna give these a little shake like this, just to let them roll around a little bit, and just so they'll cook evenly. And put it back in, and we'll go for another 6, 7 minutes until they're nice and kind of golden brown colored, and then they'll be ready, they'll be done. And when the time is up, we'll remove it, and look at that, nice and golden brown. And then I'm going to just take these and pour these all in there, in that bowl. And there we go. Put this back. Time for me to dive into one of these. Oh yeah. First I'm going to show you like this one, this little flaked off bit. It's like a Brussels sprout chip. So awesome. And I'll dive into this guy. Yeah, look at that. So awesome. I love these.
This crispy air fryer chickpeas recipe is so good, and it's a great healthy snack to make.
Begin with some spices. Now the amount of spices don't have to be exact, and you can adjust these or add more or subtract some of these spices according to your taste. But I'm going to start with about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. You could always sprinkle on more salt at the end if you want them saltier. About 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, about 1/4 or 1/8 of a teaspoon, 1/4 of a teaspoon, somewhere around there of black ground black pepper, and then about 1/2 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. Again, these don't have to be exact. A lot of times I don't even measure, I just kind of shake it into the bowl of beans. And then I'm going to go ahead and just give this a little mix here. And then I have 1 can, this is about a 16-ounce can of chickpeas or garbanzo beans. And what I did is I just drained these in a colander, just rinsed them really well, and then I dried them in some paper towel. You want them to be kind of dry before you cook them. That will just help them get crispier. And then I have about a tablespoon, couple teaspoons, tablespoon of olive oil. I'm just going to kind of sprinkle this on here. Or you could just do like a spray, like if you have a cooking spray, you can do that as well. And this is going to help them get a little bit crisper, and also it's going to help the seasonings to stick to them. And I'm just going to put these seasonings on here. And then I'm going to put my lid on this bowl. Just give it a good shake. You could also just throw everything in like a little plastic bag and then shake it that way. Or you could just stir it. It just helps everything get evenly coated. There we go. Looking great. And just like that, the garbanzo beans or chickpeas are ready to be cooked. Now we're going to do this in the air fryer. And it's going to be somewhere between 12 to 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes in the air fryer at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 Celsius. Or you can bake them on a pan in the oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's going to go for somewhere between 20 to 35 minutes. It'll take longer in the oven. So in this particular air fryer, you remove the basket, and this is a Secura brand air fryer. I really like this one. I'll put a link down below in the description box if you want to pick one of these up. I really like this. I've been using it for about 3 years now. And then after you have the basket out, we'll just take the chickpeas and put them in there, and then you want to just shake them till they're kind of like evenly spaced out and just like in one layer, just like that. And I'll put the basket in place. I'll set my temp to 400, and then I'm going to do it for about 12 minutes to start. And at about the 6-minute mark, I'm going to take it out and shake it around just so I can promote even cooking, and then put it back down. And again, after about 6 or 7 minutes, let's just take a peek. Looking good. I'm just going to give it a little shake like this. And then back in, and we'll cook it some more. when the time is up, we'll take a look. Yeah. I'm gonna grab one, blow on it. I'm just gonna bite into it, see how crispy it is. If it's a little too soft, I'm just gonna cook them a little bit longer. So good. I want them just a little bit crispier. So I'm gonna go for a couple more minutes. All right, time's up again. Yeah, looking awesome. All right, and then I'm gonna just take these and pour them in this little bowl here. Time for me to dive into these, oh yeah. Mmm.
Did you know you can fry an egg in the air fryer? Let me show you how. All right, so pretty much all you need is you need something that will go inside of your air fryer that you can put the egg in. And I just have this little 6-inch cake pan. I love this little pan. I use it for other things as well besides cakes. And then you need some eggs. Pretty easy, right? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this little pan and I'm gonna give it a little spray with some cooking spray, or you can just kind of baste on some little bit of oil, some kind of cooking oil, olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, something like that. You just want the pan to be lightly coated so the eggs don't stick. And then I'm just gonna take an egg here. Depending on the size of your pan, you can do a couple of eggs at a time, 2 or 3 if you want. I'm just gonna show you one, and we'll just put that egg right in there. Got a little shell in there. If you ever get a shell in your egg, just use the other egg shell, just scoop it out. Really easy, don't try to grab it with your fingers. There we go. And now, what I'm gonna do is I will pull out my air fryer basket. And you can use pretty much any air fryer. This is the type, kind of the basic kind where the basket just slides out. And then I'm gonna put this right in here, like so. All right, and then I'm just gonna slide it back in. And now we're gonna cook it. Now I'm gonna set my air fryer to about 375 Fahrenheit or 176 Celsius, which is right around medium heat. And then I'm gonna just set the time for it's between 3 and 5 minutes is great. In mine, it takes about 3.5 to 3:45, and it winds up being perfect. And you can cook it a little bit longer if you want your egg yolk to be more done. And if you want it to be really, really runny, then just do it a little bit less. And that's all you need to do. Time went off. I'll slide it out. And there you go, you look at it. And so you can see how there's a little bit of jiggly around that egg. So I'm just gonna do it a little bit longer. I can tell it needs to be cooked. I mean, you could eat it just like that if you wanted to. I'm gonna do it for another like 30 seconds. Another 30 seconds or so. So you might need to check it a couple times, once or twice, while you're doing it. All right, I'm gonna check it. Yes, perfect. So I kind of like it where you see the white starting to creep up on the top. That is great. Again, I could have used it right when I first took it out. And then what I want to do is just come in here and you can just get the egg out. You don't have to touch the cake pan if you don't want. It should come right out. Look at how easy that came out of this little cake pan, and my egg is still intact. And there we go. A perfect fried egg in the air fryer, and then just salt it and put some pepper on it. Time for me to dive into this. Oh yeah. Yeah. And so the edges are gonna be a little bit crispy, really great, and look at that yolk. Super nice runny yolk. Perfect. Yeah. If you love apples and you love using your air fryer, give this apple chip recipe a try. Yeah, look at that apple chip. Begin with an apple, and I have a Gala apple here, and just make sure to rinse it well before using it. And you can use whatever apple that you want. I just really like Gala apples, so I always have these on hand. And now what we want to do is we want to cut this up into little chip shapes. And you can do that with a knife, or you can do it with a mandolin slicer. And you can core it or not core it, up to you. I usually will just cut it down the half part just to get out these seeds here. And now I take my mandolin, and this is just a little slicer that allows you to get nice thin shapes. And then we're going to just cut up this apple. And you're going to, I put it on a bowl just so the bowl can catch these slices. And you're going to want to be careful because the mandolin slicer is very sharp. And so you'll use a little guard if necessary. And the guard will look something like this depending on what you have. So there we go. And if you don't have a mandolin slicer, you can just cut these with a knife. Just be very careful. And so these are going to be somewhere in between 1/8 of an inch and 1/16 of an inch thick. Cool. And then normally what I will do is I will take some cinnamon and just sprinkle on some cinnamon there in there. And then I'll put on the lid and just give this a nice shake. The cinnamon is optional, but I love putting cinnamon on these. And you can put the cinnamon on after the fact as well. Okay? And now we'll just arrange these in here like this. And you can overlap them because we're going to be shaking these. Okay, and then also I'll come in here usually and do a little bit more cinnamon. Okay, I'm going to put the basket in the air fryer, and I'm going to set the heat to right around 300 Fahrenheit, which is about 150 Celsius, and we're going to set the time for 20 minutes, and then every 5 minutes, I'm going to remove the basket, give it a shake, and replace the basket, and keep cooking until they get nice and golden brown. On to that step. All right, after 5 minutes, I'm going to check it. It's not going to look like much right now, but we'll just give these a shake. And just spread them out again. Don't touch the air fryer basket. Flip them over. And then we can just go from there. Put it back in, go for another 5 minutes. All right, another 5 minutes have passed. Remove the basket, give it a shake. We'll just flip these over. Just encouraging even cooking. And the thinner ones are going to be starting to shrivel up. Okay, back in the air fryer it goes, another 5 minutes. All right, another 5 minutes is up. Let's check it. All right, here we go. So now you got them, they're going to start to be nice and brown and curled up. And then the really thin and brown ones, I'm going to take those out just so they don't get overcooked. Okay, and into the air fryer they go once again for another 5 minutes. All right, and the final 5 minutes is up. And there we go, nice and browned. And they may not feel crispy right away, but as they cool, they will get nice and hard and crispy. Okay? For example, these ones that have been cooling down, you can hear how crispy they are. Time for me to dive into this. Oh yeah. Yeah, look at that apple chip. I love corn on the cob, and it turns out fantastic in the air fryer. Begin with your corn, and you're going to want to shuck them and remove like the silks and everything. So I have 3 ears of corn here, and I'm just going to do 2 of them. And now what we want to do is I have like about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of softened butter. I'm going to come in here with some salt, and I'm just going to do like a pinch of salt here and a pinch of pepper. And you can do more or less of these spices and ingredients, totally up to you. A little bit of garlic powder, love garlic powder. And then some paprika. I never measure these, I just do a couple of shakes of each and go from there. And if you use salted butter, then you probably want to reduce the amount of salt that you add, or maybe not even add salt at all. And then I'm just going to take a spoon, and we're just going to mix this all together. Perfect. And now I'm going to take my corn, and then I'm going to take this butter mixture here and take like a basting brush, and we're just going to baste this corn all over. And you can certainly just cook these corn on the cob separately without any flavoring. You don't have to use butter. You don't have to use salt and pepper. You can do them straight without any flavoring and just add stuff on at the end if you want. Okay, perfect. And now we take the air fryer basket out, and then we'll just take the corn on the cob and we'll put it right in there, and depending on the size of your basket will depend on how many ears you can do. I can do like 4 at a time if I want in this basket. And then into the air fryer it goes, and I'm going to set the temp to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 Celsius. And if your air fryer only goes up to 200 Celsius, then just set it to that. And then I'm going to set the timer for about 10 minutes, and then we'll check it and we'll turn it over to the next side and do another about 10 minutes. So it takes around 18 to 20 minutes total. And when the timer goes off, remove it from the air fryer, and then we'll just give this a turn to the other side. Back it goes. And then another 8 to 10 minutes, and that's all you need to do. And when the timer's up, just take out the basket, and there you go. It is ready. Just use some tongs and take them out. And there you go. Easy as that. Time for me to dive into this. Oh yeah. One of my favorite ways to cook carrots is in the air fryer. Take them out. Perfect. So I have roughly about a pound of baby carrots. You can use normal carrots if you want. I always have baby carrots on hand because I like to snack on them and put them on my salad and stuff. And so I always have baby carrots. And what you want to do is, if you use baby carrots, make sure to dry them, because sometimes they get kind of damp and wet inside of the package that they come in. So make sure to kind of rinse and dry them. And you can do a savory and sweet version. I am going to do a nice honey butter glazed version. So good. And what we want to do first is we will take a little bit of olive oil. You don't need much, tablespoon or 2 at the most. You could also just use some cooking spray. Okay. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of salt. Winds up being probably a 1/4 teaspoon or so. And then a little bit of pepper. And if you're on a low sodium diet and don't like pepper, you can leave those off. Another thing I like to add is a little bit of garlic powder. And you can leave the garlic powder off as well. Now if you just want to do a savory version, there you go, that's all you need to do. But I'm going to do a little honey glazed version. So I want to make my little honey glaze, and I have a couple tablespoons of softened butter. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon or 2 of honey. And we'll just mix this together. Super easy. I'm going to add just a little bit more honey. So it winds up being about 2 tablespoons of butter for 2 tablespoons of honey. There we go. Yeah, that's looking so good. Nice little honey butter. Fantastic. And now I'm going to take my air fryer basket out. No need to preheat the air fryer or anything. And then I'm going to take my carrots. Just give them a good toss. And then I want to arrange them in a single layer here. This right here makes about 3 servings, or 1 serving for me. And you could do more than that and pile them up, because we are going to shake it halfway through the cooking, and it'll just take a little bit longer the more that you do. And then I want to take my honey butter here, basting brush, and we're just going to baste these carrots. And you could do this in the bowl as well if you wanted to, just because they kind of like move around on you a little bit, but that's okay. So I'm going to put half of it on now and then add the other half halfway through as they're cooked, ready to go. Into the air fryer. Again, you don't need to preheat the air fryer. I'm going to set this to 375 Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius. Okay, so I'm just going to set it for 8 minutes right now, and then we go set it for another 8 minutes afterwards. And after about 8 minutes, the timer has gone off. I'm going to pull this out, looking good. And I'm just going to give these a nice little toss. And then just, again, spread them out a little bit here. Then I'm going to take the rest of this honey butter. Just give these a good coating. And it goes on really easy when the carrots are hot, because it kind of just melts right away. All right, back into the air fryer it goes for another 7 to 10 minutes. And when the time is up, take them out. Perfect. See the little edges, lightly crisp on the edges? Probably a little bit wrinkly as well, and fork tender. Fantastic. And then just use tongs to get them out, or just take the whole thing like this. And there you go. That is how I cook carrots in the air fryer. Super yummy. If I can do it, you can do it. Time for me to dive into this. Oh yeah. Grab this little guy right there. This air fryer cauliflower recipe is awesome. Give it a try. Take a look. Looking good. Perfect. Begin by rinsing your head of a cauliflower. And now what I want to do is I want to just cut this into this. Take off this part. All right. I have a little different knife here. I'm going to dig out this stem. You can just kind of cut it in half, but it damages the florets
when you do that, but if you don't care about that, then that's fine. So I usually just like to go in like that, and then you can break it apart like this. And then we'll just cut these florets apart. However you want to take your cauliflower apart, up to you. This is what I usually do. And I make them about this size, so they're, you know, bite size, pretty easy to eat. Then I'm gonna just place the florets in a bowl. So I'm gonna save this other half for later. And now I'm just gonna take a little bit of olive oil, or you could just use some cooking spray on there. And we don't need much at all. And you don't have to add the oil at all because the air fryer doesn't require the oil. But it adds a little bit of flavor, and it also helps all the spices and stuff stick to the cauliflower. I'm gonna put my lid on there. Give that a nice little toss. Okay. And then I'm gonna come in here with some salt. And some pepper. And some garlic powder. And then finally, I love adding some paprika. Put that lid on. Give it a toss. And there we go. Pull out my air fryer basket. And I'm just using my Secura air fryer. I've had this for like 4 years. It's pretty awesome. I'll put a link down below where you can pick it up if you want this, if you want one like this. All right, I'm gonna add those to the air fryer. And just kind of get them so they're, pretty much in one layer or so. Doesn't matter too much because we're gonna be turning these throughout the cooking process. And now we will put it in there. And then I'm gonna set the heat to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 Celsius. And we are going to set the timer for 5 minutes. And then we are going to, after 5 minutes, we'll turn the cauliflower over to the other side and do another 5 to 7 minutes until they're fork tender onto that step. After 5 minutes, we'll take the basket out, and then we'll come in with some tongs, and we're just gonna flip these guys over. Do the best you can. You don't have to do every single one. We just want to evenly roast these. Great. Back in the air fryer it goes for another 5 minutes, and we'll go from there, see if it needs more time. All right, time is up. Take a look. Looking good. Perfect. And now what you could do as well is you could baste these with butter. You could also, about 3-4 minutes before you think they're done, you could put some shredded cheese on top, and the cheese will melt and you'll have some cheesy cauliflower if you like. Really awesome. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this plate here, put them down on there. Yummy, I'm gonna dive in. Potatoes are so good in the air fryer. This crispy potato recipe is awesome for breakfast. Let's make crispy air fryer potatoes. Wash your potato, do a better job than me, I was in a hurry, then slice it into chunks. You can peel the potato if you want. Add 1 teaspoon of salt to boiling water.
Then add the potatoes. Boil until fork tender. Pour into a colander. Shake off any excess water. Then add the potatoes to a bowl. Drizzle on some olive oil, about a teaspoon or two. Add some salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Stir with a spatula. Add the potatoes to your air fryer basket and then spread them out. Set air fryer to air fryer mode at 415 degrees Fahrenheit or 212 Celsius and cook for 10 to 12 minutes until golden brown and crispy. Enjoy! I am a huge fan of onion rings. If you love onion rings, give this recipe a try. I have 3 eggs, about a teaspoon of garlic powder, about half a teaspoon of salt, about a tablespoon of milk, about a half teaspoon of black pepper. I have 1 sweet onion. I have a half of a cup of cornstarch, half a cup of flour, all-purpose flour, and about a cup of panko breadcrumbs, or you can use the Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. And I'm just gonna make a little egg wash, and I'm just gonna add the milk to this. The milk is optional. You can use a little bit of water as well. It just helps to thin out the egg wash a little bit. Set this aside. This is half a cup of cornstarch, half a cup of all-purpose flour. Doesn't have to be exact. I'm gonna add my teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of salt. You can go down to a 1/4 teaspoon if you want. About a half teaspoon of black pepper. Mix this up with a fork. All right, easy enough. Now let's cut up our onion. This is a large sweet onion here. I'm going to just take off the end here. And I usually just do a slit and just remove that first outer ring with the papery skin. And then we just cut this into rings about a 1/4 inch wide, depending on how many you want to do. And then you can just push these rings out. And now we need to dredge these onion rings. So we begin with a ring of onion, okay? And we'll go in our flour. So put it in flour, the flour and cornstarch mixture, go into the egg here. Back into flour. We're gonna double dip this thing. Get a nice coating. Back into the egg. Let the excess egg drip off, and then into these breadcrumbs. And then at this point, it's ready to go. If you want to deep fry them, you can deep fry them, but we're gonna do the air fryer. All right, and once you have them ready to go, I'm gonna take a little bit of olive oil, and I just put it in this little spray bottle. That way you don't have to worry about any propellants. I normally don't worry about that stuff, but I know some people do. So just get like a little spray bottle and put your olive oil in there. And the olive oil is not necessary, but it's gonna add a little bit of flavor and it's gonna help it to get extra crispy. So let's just go ahead and give this a good spray. Perfect. Set these aside. Then I'm going to preheat it. I'm just going to set it to 350 Fahrenheit, which is also 176 Celsius. If you don't have an air fryer that has a preheat function, then don't worry about it. And once the air fryer is preheated, I'm going to pull this basket out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my onion rings right in here in the basket. And then just spread them out in a single layer like that. And then inside the air fryer it goes. And then I'm gonna hit air fry. And I wanna adjust the temp to 350, which is 176 Celsius. And then I'm gonna set the time to 13 minutes. And then at the 7-minute mark, I'm gonna pull them out and check them and then flip them over, spray them with some olive oil, and then cook it up the rest of the way. And when 7 minutes is up, I'm gonna take it out. I'm gonna give these an extra spray of oil. Let's flip these over, but you wanna be pretty careful because you don't wanna lose any of that breading. And then I'm going to spray these again on this side. And then back into the air fryer that goes, and just for the rest of the time. Time is up. Yeah. Look at those. That is one amazing, crispy air fryer ring. So cool. Really easy to do. If I can do it, you can do it. Time for me to dive into one of these. Oh yeah, I'm gonna grab this one right here. Dunk it in some ketchup. Oh yeah. When you are peeling those potatoes, don't throw those skins away. Make this crispy air fryer potato skins recipe. They are so good. Begin with your potatoes. I have a couple of russet potatoes here, and I washed them and dried them. And now we want to get the skins. So if you're making French fries or you're making some other potato dish where you don't want the skins, save those skins and make these awesome crispy chips with them. Okay? And so I'm going to just peel these skins and put them in this bowl. And you can leave them long, you can cut them short. I usually just leave them long and don't really cut them smaller, but you can treat them however you want. And there is a lot of nutrition in these potato skins. Okay, so we got a bunch of potato skins there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some olive oil, and I just have this in this spray bottle here. And I'm just going to give this a good spray. And you don't have to use the oil. It just helps it get more crispy and adds a little bit of flavor. And then I'm going to add some salt. And just give that a little mix with my hands. And then another little spray. And a little more salt. And you can add other seasonings if you want. Okay? And now, pull out the air fryer basket. And then I'm going to put these potato skins in there. And we're going to just arrange them in a single layer here. And then into the air fryer it goes. I have it on air fry mode, 385 Fahrenheit for 8 to 10 minutes. And that is, I don't know, it's like 185 Celsius, right around there. It doesn't have to be exact. Okay, I'm gonna turn this on, and then right around the 5-minute mark, I'm gonna flip the skins over. All right, it's been about 5 minutes.
I'm gonna take these out, looking good. And I'm probably gonna do a quick spray again of some olive oil. And then I kinda wanna just flip these over. Another quick spray. And then put them back in for another 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how crispy you want them. Time is up. Yeah, look at these. Nice and golden brown. Looking awesome. They're nice and crispy. I'm just gonna take them out here and put them on a plate. And then while they are still hot, you may want to add more seasonings. And then just eat them as is, or you can dip them in ketchup or something else. Super easy to do. Potato skins in the air fryer. If I can do it, you can do it. Time for me to dive into this. So yeah, I'm gonna grab this one right here. Yeah. Did you know you can cook rice in the air fryer? Well, let me show you how. And if there's a little bit of water on the bottom, just fluff it up like this, and then you can cook it for a few more minutes. You will need an air fryer safe pan or bowl, and you could use like a Pyrex bowl or some sort of like cake pan. This is 3 inches deep. You can do like 3 to 4 inches deep, and then this is 7.5 to 8 inches in diameter, and this is almost the largest size that will fit inside of my air fryer. So depending on your air fryer will depend on the size of pan that you can use. And now I have 1 cup of rice, and this is enriched rice, so you don't pre-rinse it. But if you are not using enriched rice, then you are going to want to rinse that rice a few times. Put that in there. And then I have 2 cups of water, and I am using filtered water because my tap water is really gross. I'll put that in there. There we go, easy as that. I'll remove my air fryer basket here, and we're gonna just put this right in there, like so. So you can see I could probably use a little bit bigger pan if I wanted to cook more rice. And now I'm gonna take some foil, and I'm just gonna wrap it around the top of this, kind of loosely. And then into the air fryer it goes. And then I have my air fryer set to air fry. It's at 385 Fahrenheit, which is like right around 195 Celsius. And then I'm gonna set the time between 25 and 30 minutes. I usually put it around 27, 28 minutes, and that does the trick. And then just turn it on and let it do its thing. And when the time is up, go ahead and check it. Now, depending on your air fryer, you may need 5 to 10 minutes longer, just depends. I'm gonna take a peek here. Looking good. Put this basket away. And I'm just gonna fluff this up a little bit. Nice. And if there's a little bit of water on the bottom, just fluff it up like this, and then you can cook it for a few more minutes. That is how you cook rice in the air fryer. And then you could use the rice for whatever dish that you want to use it for. Awesome. Instead of cooking those tater tots in the oven, cook them in the air fryer. They turn out amazing. All right, so got a bag of tater tots here. I'm gonna slide out the basket here. And then just put in however much that you want. And just make sure that it's in a single layer.
So you could do enough for 2 to 3 people, depending on the size of your air fryer. Set the temp to 385 Fahrenheit or 196 Celsius. It doesn't have to be exact. It could be 375 to 400 Fahrenheit. So it doesn't have to be exact. And it's going to take somewhere between 11 to 14 minutes. That's all, which is much faster than doing this in a traditional oven. And just turn it on and let it go. And when the time is up, there we go, perfectly cooked frozen tater tots. Awesome. Now, depending on how much airflow you have underneath your basket in the air fryer, you may need to give the tater tots a shake around the 7-minute mark just to promote even cooking. But there we go, super easy, much faster than doing it in the oven. Like I said, it's perfect if you just want to make 1 or 2 servings. Baked potatoes are a classic side dish, and they turn out so good in the air fryer. The skin is super crispy, and the inside is nice and soft and fluffy. Give it a try. And just come in here with your tongs and just smash it like that. Look at that. So begin with your potatoes. I am using russet potatoes, and you can use Yukon Gold if you want. You could use a different variety as well. And I started by rinsing really well the potatoes and then drying them with a paper towel or just use a kitchen towel. And now what I want to do is I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to poke some holes in here. And what that's going to do is it's going to let steam release out of the potato while it cooks, so it doesn't like explode. And then also I want to point out that you want to use potatoes that are around the same size because those are going to bake more evenly. The smaller the potato, the less time in the air fryer it'll take, and then the larger, the more time it'll take. Simple as that. And now what I want to do is I'm going to take some olive oil, and I just have it in this little sprayer, and I'm going to go ahead and give each side a nice little spray of olive oil. And this is just going to help the skin get nice and crispy. Add a little bit of salt. Flip these over. Do the same thing. And one thing I love about using the air fryer is it just makes a fantastic outer skin that's kind of nice and crispy, and then it's nice and soft on the inside. Awesome. And especially if you're only going to do 2 to 4 potatoes, the air fryer is much better than using the conventional oven if you have it. All right. Take my air fryer basket out, and then I'm going to put these potatoes in here. And then into the air fryer it goes. And then I'm going to set the temperature to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is right around 205 Celsius. And then I'm going to, these potatoes are medium in size, so they're going to take around 50 to 55 minutes, maybe up to an hour. And so I'm going to set it for 55 minutes. Let's start up this air fryer. Also, there's no need to preheat the air fryer or anything like that. All right, and then after about 30 minutes, I'm gonna take out the basket. And I'm just going to flip these over. And then back in the air fryer they go for another 20 to 30 minutes. And when the time is up, yeah, look at those. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check it with my fork and just make sure it's fork tender. Yeah. And if it's not fork tender, then you just put it in for another 10 minutes and go from there.
And then now I'm going to cut it open here. Hear that crunch? And normally I would just use my fingers like this to open it up. But if it's too hot, then just come in here with your tongs and just smash it like that. Look at that. Awesome. Super nice and soft and flaky the potato is. Perfection. And then I'm going to add a little bit of butter, or a lot of butter, yeah. And of course, you can do more salt on the inside. Pepper. And then all kinds of other toppings that you can do. Sour cream, grated cheese, green onion, bacon, lots of things that you can do. Time for me. Dig into this. Oh yeah. So there we have it, 25 amazing air fryer recipes. Now last but not least, let me show you the air fryer that I love and use the most, the Cosori air fryer. Time for a review of the Cosori Turbo Blaze 6-quart air fryer. I will say I love this thing. I still have my other air fryer, my trusty air fryer that I've had for over 5 years and used a ton. But that one was getting older, and it's just a basic air fryer. This is loaded with features, and I like the size, 6-quart. It's a little bit larger than my other one, just barely. And when you open it up here, the basket is similar. And one thing that's different is the crisper grate, the crisper little grate thing. It sits higher, and so it allows air to go underneath it. So it's a lot better. And it's easier to clean because it comes apart. And then both this and the basket are both dishwasher safe. You can put those in the dishwasher if you want. And then what I also really love about it is this touch screen is absolutely awesome. So there's these different turbo modes. We have the air fry mode, which I'll use for air frying mostly. We have the roast mode, broil mode, frozen mode, preheat, reheat, dry, bake, proof, and warm, which is really cool. So this has variable speeds and for the fan. So it's just not one fan speed like my other air fryer. It has different speeds for the fan depending on what you are cooking, and all these different presets, which is so cool. Just reheat for reheating food. If you want to just dry something out, like if you're gonna make beef jerky, or you're gonna do like dried fruit, you can do that with the dry mode. Awesome. Something I can't do with my other air fryer. It just doesn't have a setting for 135 Fahrenheit in the other air fryer. The bake mode, the proof mode. Like this has a proofing mode, so if you want to put your dough in here and you could proof your dough for your bread, you can do that in here. And then just the warming mode, if you want to just keep something warm. Really, really awesome. I love these different features. I love this nice futuristic touch screen display. Amazing. Such a nice air fryer. All of my future air fryer videos are going to be done in this air fryer. So I want to just test the sound now, how quiet it is. It's not super loud, so it's fairly quiet, which is great. I'm going to turn it off, and I want to show you how it stacks up against my other air fryer. This is my other air fryer that I've used for a really, really long time. And my old air fryer is quite a bit louder than my new one. And when this was brand new, it was still this loud. So they've come a long way since I bought this one. And this air fryer comes with a cool little recipe book with all kinds of different recipes that you can do here in the air fryer.
And there you go. That is a look at the Cosori Turbo Blaze 6-quart air fryer. Thanks for watching. I hope you found a couple of recipes to try. All of the full written recipes are on my website, inthekitchenwithmatt.com. If you want to pick up that Cosori air fryer that I love, down in the description box you'll find a link where you can pick it up. Take care everyone, and happy air frying.